Joe's backyard. I hope you're okay at home. We've been talking about genetics, DNA, and evolution, and how they're all interlinked. And what we're going to talk about today is why it is that recessive alleles don't simply die out. So a lot of people think that dominant alleles are stronger than recessive alleles and they overshadow them. So surely, slowly, over time, over generations, recessive alleles should simply die out and disappear from the population. And that would be an example of evolution that we could easily explain. But it doesn't happen. There's a lot of recessive alleles that are really the majority in the population. So, for example, if you look at the population of Nordic people from Scandinavia, the blue-eyed gene is recessive. The blue-eyed allele is recessive to the allele for brown eyes, but it survives as an absolute majority in the population. Think of blood types. Think of type O. The allele for type O, the small dotted I, is recessive to both the alleles for type A and to type B blood. So why is it that they don't just disappear? We're going to talk about that today, and we're going to look at something called the Hardy-Weinberg equations that kind of explains that. We have made a start on looking at this, but I just want to nail it down. And so firstly, let's have a look at the kind of populations that we're looking at. So firstly, we need a large breeding population. And so if we've got a large population that's breeding, and I'll just shorten population there because obviously running out of room. If we've got a large breeding population, it means that any effect isn't just due to chance. So if you've got a population of 5 individuals and 2 die, that's going to have a massive effect on the gene pool. But if you've got like 5 million people and 10,000 die, strangely, it's not going to make anywhere near as much effect on the breeding population, on the gene pool. So if we've got a large breeding population, it's like one of those statistical things where a small aberration will make very little difference to the overall statistical spread. The next thing we look at to make sure that the recessive alleles don't die out is that mating is random. We don't have a situation where maybe the females of this species refuse to mate with anything other than a very long-tailed male. So you're probably aware of peacocks, widow birds, and the idea of those, the sexual selection is that if they don't have the very, very long tails and therefore the alleles to code for those, then females don't mate with those. So short-tailed widow birds, peacocks without the very long tails and the eyes in the tail do tend to die out. But we're going to look at a situation where mating is random and therefore there isn't that kind of selection based on one particular characteristic. The next thing is not much in the way of mutations that are going to change the gene pool. So, if there is a huge rate of mutation, such as in the current coronavirus outbreak, then that's going to change the gene pool rapidly and probably skew selection towards one particular strain, as it has done with the coronavirus. But if the gene pool isn't changed much over time, then this is going to favour the conditions that we're going to look at in the next video. Then we're going to look at the idea of not much immigration or emigration. So we've got a stable population where not many individuals come in from outside bringing new genes and not many individuals leave taking out genes and weakening the gene pool, say. And the final thing is there's no natural selection. So we're looking at maybe a situation like the blood types, where there's not much that selects, say, a type B blood type person over a type O person, and there's very little difference in the survival potential of those. So if we look at these conditions, if we satisfy those, then we get a fairly stable population, a large gene pool, and in the next video we're going to look at how it is that the recessive allele stays fairly stable.